Good morning. I have come up with a new activity for us to do today, one that we haven't tried before, as long as I don't knock everything on the floor. Today, this week, is what is called here at the library Banned Books Week. And what is that? That is a good question. That is, it's a week that the American Library Association invented to highlight all of the books that have been banned or challenged at public and school libraries and classrooms. And what does that mean? Well, that means that there's some books out there that adults have said people shouldn't be reading these books. There's books that they tried to get kids like you not to be able to read these books because they didn't think that kids like you should be reading them. So what the American Library Association does is they come up with a list of all of the books that had happened to them the year before, all the ones where someone said people shouldn't be reading this book, and it happens to books for adults too. There's just people out there trying to tell other people what they can and cannot read, which anyway. But that's what's going on this week, and we have a couple of displays with some books like that on them. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about a few of the ones that are on the display of the kids' books. But first, we're going to do an activity that is based on one of the books on the display, and it's one that you might already know. And it's a flannel board activity, and it is a lot. It's more fun in person because, you can put them on the board yourself or take them off. Or we like to do it in person, but we can't do that right now, so we'll just have to do it here for you. And you can follow along. And then as we're doing this book, think about why you think there might be some adults who said that people shouldn't be reading this book. Okay? So this one, here we have Brown Bear. And some of you might already know this story. And there's Brown Bear. What does Brown Bear see? Does anybody remember from reading the book? Look, what does Brown Bear see? What is that? A red bird. Brown Bear sees red bird looking at me. And then red bird. What does the red bird see? What is that? A yellow duck. I see a yellow duck looking at me. And what about yellow duck? Yellow duck, yellow duck. What do you see? Does anybody remember what yellow duck sees? If you can remember this, that's good because I have to have notes to know what comes next. So if you remember what comes next just by remembering, then you're doing a really good job of remembering. Okay, what does yellow duck see? Yellow duck sees a blue horse. Our horse is blue. Where did this blue horse come from? I don't know what's going on with this book because horses are not supposed to be blue. But yellow duck, I see a blue horse looking at me. And then blue horse, what do you see? What color is that? It's green. Do you know what kind of animal it is? A frog. I see a green frog looking at me. And then I need to fix him. See, because he actually doesn't have eyes right now. He can't see anything. Green frog, what do you see? Let's put this one up there. Can you tell what that is? You can tell what that is, can't you? It's a purple cat. And here we go again. Cats aren't supposed to be purple. What is with this book? Okay, so green frog, I see a purple cat looking at me, and then purple cat, what do you see? What does purple cat see? Let's get my next animal off the list here. It's a white dog. Purple cat, I see a white dog looking at me. And then white dog, what do you see? That one is maybe a little harder to see because it's the same color as my flannel board. It's a black sheep with a white face. So White Dog says, I see a black sheep looking at me, and then black sheep, what do you see? Does anyone remember what black sheep sees? Black sheep sees a goldfish looking at me. Look at all these colors up here. So far, there's only two that are not what color these animals are supposed to be. But I think that way we can cover all the colors. This is a good book to learn animals and colors, isn't it? Okay, and then goldfish, what do you see? I see it's a teacher, but I'm doing this, so that's a librarian. A librarian looking at me, and then what does the librarian see? This is the part that's more fun in a group of people, because it's true. Right now, I just see myself looking at me in my camera, but the teacher or librarian sees children. There's all these children looking at me. I think some of them need some gluing too. This is a lot of children. Imagine if you were here in person and everybody could have a couple of children. Yeah, see, he's missing an eye. So I have some more fixing to do. But imagine if you were here in person, you could all have a couple of children to put up on the board. And then it would be true. There really would be children looking at me. Well, I'm not even done yet. I have more children. Oh, I dropped one. I don't know what that is. And one more. Look at all those children. Those two look like twins. So here we have this book. This book is called Brown Bear. Brown Bear, What Do You See? And I'm sure some of you already know it. And it's by Bill Martin Jr. and Eric Carle. And it was 2010. Why do you think 2010 someone would have challenged this book and wanted other people not to read it? Well, I'll tell you. Because the author's name is Bill Martin Jr., and there's another author named Bill Martin, and he wrote a book on Marxism. And there was this, it was the Texas Board of Education, so it wasn't even one school in Texas, it was the whole state of Texas. The Board of Education confused the two authors and thought that the same person had written both books. So they banned it because they didn't want children reading a book by someone who had also written a book on Marxism, even though he hadn't, because they're two different people with the same name. Which, I know they didn't do their research very well, did they? They needed to talk to a librarian first, because we know what we're doing with research. So, even books like this one, this is a board book, even books for little children like board books, can have people say, you shouldn't read those books. Why would you think that kids' books would have anything in it that people shouldn't be reading? I don't know. And I'm going to talk about a couple more. This one is the family book, and I really enjoy this one. It just talks about different kinds of families. That's all it does. But there's a page in there that talks about some families have two mommies or two daddies. So there are some people who think that kids shouldn't read that book. And that was in 2012, so some of this is really new stuff. Here's another. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Where the Wild Things Are. I don't know if you know this book or not, but I know this book, and I knew this book when I was a kid. So it's been around for a while. But this is a fun book. I like it. And it was made into a movie. I'm not sure when, but fairly recently. But anyway, in 1963, there were some adults who said, you shouldn't be reading this book. And why did they say that? Well, because they said it depicted child abuse, which Max being sent to bed with no supper was child abuse. And it's also too dark, and it has supernatural elements in it, because he goes where and finds the wild things, and that's all the supernatural parts to it. So kids shouldn't be reading it, and I think they kind of sound like some killjoys to me, you know. You can't read all the fun books that use your imagination. And here, I found this one is another really silly reason. At least I think it's a silly reason. But here is this is a really funny book. Walter the Farting Dog. And that's what he does, he farts. That the whole book is about this, how much this dog farts. But there were some people, let's see, I don't have a year on here. So I don't know when this happened. But they tried to ban the book because it has the word fart in it. Because I thought maybe they figured that if they didn't read a book with the word fart in it, kids wouldn't know the word. We all know how silly that is, right? Kids share all the best words with each other. So those are just a few reasons why people would say that here's some books that you shouldn't read, they're kind of, I think they're kind of silly reasons. But again, you know, the American Library Association and the Banned Books Week is all about informing people that this happens and why, and about the freedom to read whatever you want, which personally, that's what we believe here at the library. You can read whatever you want. But I do have a question for you to think about at the end of this video. Do you think there are any reasons why books should be banned? Is there ever a good reason to do it? To say to other people, you shouldn't read this book, or you can't read this book. We're going to take it away off the shelves. You can't even read it because it's not here. Are there any reasons why that should happen? So that's something for you to think about, and you don't have to share your answer with anybody, but just think about it and see what you come up with, and if you want to know more about Banned Books Week, you can do a search. There's a lot of information on the American Library Association website, and on our Facebook page, we actually have a link to the list of the 100 most challenged books of the decade. So you might even find some on there that surprise you, or ones that you love that book. What's it doing on this list? So that's something to think about. Why do you think it's on that list? And do you think it should be on that list? And I have one more thing. I don't have an example to show you, but if you want to write your own story that you can then share with people, you can make your own book just by cutting some paper up, or even just taking full-size, I don't even have, just a full-size sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11. Take some full-size paper, and then you can put cover on it if you want. And if you've got construction paper or colored paper, or you can draw your own cover. But take some and just staple it together, and then you can write your own story. Or you can make your own book and write your own story, and then you can let everybody read it. Or I suppose you could let nobody read it because it's your story. So anyway, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about all these people who are trying to tell other people what they can't read. And I will be back in another video with some more activities. There's some fun stuff coming up here at the library. So I hope I will see you for some of that too. Bye!